Christmas is around the corner, but things are getting hotter.
We consider ourselves in the right to use our weapons against the military facilities of those countries who allowed the use of their weapons against our facilities. And in case of escalation of aggressive action, we will respond decisively and in a tit-for-tat manner. It is the U.S. that destroyed the system of international security, and by continuing to clutch to their hegemony, they are pushing the whole world into a global conflict.
But the administration isn't answering any questions. Two top Biden officials were supposed to be the star witnesses on the Hill today. Looking forward to it, had my popcorn going. But DHS Secretary Mayorkas and FBI Director Wray bailed last minute on a key congressional hearing regarding growing threats to our homeland. Well, senators wanted answers not just to, Putin's threats to strike our military bases, but also about the Iranian assassination plot against Trump, the Afghan national who allegedly planned a terror attack on Election Day. And how about the man arrested for plotting to blow up the New York Stock Exchange? But Mayorkas and Wray don't think Americans need to know about any of that. The shock over this snub was bipartisan.
Well, we certainly need an explanation for this morning's cancellation.
I definitely want to hear from them, but I can't tell you why it was postponed.
That's ridiculous. They owe that to the American people, both of them. They need to come and testify. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and that's a very disappointing development.
What did I start the angle with? They don't like accountability. They don't like transparency. Joining me now, Chad Wolf, former acting Homeland Security Secretary under President Trump. Chad, thank you for joining us tonight. Now, the FBI and the DHS both released statements saying they've already testified extensively, and that any briefing should be behind closed doors in a classified setting. It sounds like they're worried about their next job or lack thereof, given their inability to answer simple questions for the public to watch and see and hear.
Well, that certainly sounds right. Look, they can go into a classified briefing. I think that's fine, but that's not what the American people see and hear. And I think it's important for those two officials, both the secretary and the director, to say to the American people, here are the major threats facing the homeland today, and here's what we're doing about it. Now, they can go off and, again, brief members in a classified setting to get more detailed, but the American people deserve transparency, they deserve accountability, and they deserve to know what their federal government's doing to protect them, and they should be able to articulate that in a public hearing, and to simply sort of, get away from that and say, I'm not doing that because we've testified 30 times before. That doesn't cut it. There's been, as you indicated and your reporting indicated, there's been a lot of threats over the last several weeks that they need to account for, and a lot of hard questions about what's going on continues to go on along that southern border.
And Chad, meanwhile, we have this caravan of, I think last I checked, 1,500, 2,000 people making its way up to rush the southern border. Yeah. We know these caravans include people who do not want to come here and just, get a job and that's that. There are a lot of bad actors as part of these efforts to crash the border. What can be done now about that, given the situation we saw today with just zero accountability?
Well, I think that's right. Maybe that's perhaps why they decided to skip it, which is they would have to answer some very difficult questions, like what are you doing to prevent unauthorized individuals coming across that border? Why are you not stopping those parole flights from Venezuela and other countries of concern where we know the vetting of those migrants are not very good? Why haven't you stopped that? You understand the threats. Explain to the American people why you continue to let this happen. So they had some very hard questions to answer. Of course, we don't get that now because they've chosen not to do it. But this is what the American people, look, they voted a couple of weeks ago for President Trump in a new way to address the threats facing the homeland. And my guess is neither one of them had answers to those very difficult questions.
And Chad, at the same time, China is, again, snubbing Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, his counterpart in the CCC, refusing to meet with him during a recent gathering of defense ministers in Laos. Austin called it, quote, unfortunate. Now, Chad, this happened last year when China refused to talk to him on the phone. What does this say about how our top officials, and it's not funny, it's actually really disturbing, but they're not worried about this administration at all. They don't seem concerned. They don't seem to even give us minimal respect.
Well, we've talked about this for the past, 6 to 8 to maybe 12 months or more, that it's about leadership and it's about respect. And on the world stage, when we talk to foreign counterparts, whether it's the president, the vice president, or cabinet officials, our foreign counterparts don't have that same respect for them because they see weakness on that international scale. They see weakness at home. They see President Biden getting blown out, by President Trump in an election because the American people want a new policy direction across the board, not just in the national security space, but across the board. And so now you've got these officials that are essentially lame duck trying to conduct the business, but their counterparts are saying, look, there's a new team in town, and we want to hear from them.
Yeah, Trump defeats Harris handily. We have all these threats. Cabinet doesn't show up, and she's in Hawaii. So she's in Hawaii. I guess he had a meeting with one of the sports teams today, and that was nice. But a new report from the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission is finding that China's military is now a significant threat capable of winning in a conflict with the United States. I've been warning about this for years, that we were losing our military capability and our superiority. Chad, your reaction to that tonight?
Yeah. Well, we've all been warning about this, right? We talked about this extensively during the first term of the Trump administration 6 years ago, where we talked about China as an adversary, saying we need to get serious about it. And a lot of us that were working for President Trump and others were laughed off stage, saying, no, the only real threat is Russia. It's always Russia, Russia, Russia. When in fact now, several years later, it's now coming out that no, China is that adversary, whether it's on the military side, the economic side, whatever they're doing in our Western Hemisphere, they are the adversary. They are the ones that we need to keep our eye on. And, of course, we were talking about that. I know President Trump and his new team, as they come in, they will be laser focused on this issue and making sure that there is real, incredible deterrence and that we are holding the CCP accountable for the actions that they're taking inside the United States each and every day.
Yeah, well, I hope we have a Treasury Secretary that believes in the power of tariffs as much as Donald Trump does, because that is going to be a key element to really pushing back against China. Chad, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.